I was now starting to worry about Jake, not about his loyalty, not about his courage in the face of a determined enemy. No, I was now starting to worry about his logic processes and common sense. How could Jake believe that NASA built this passageway to the Underdome and then left it unguarded except for the demons? This generation is growing up so gullible. We've been to the moon. GPS gets messages from space. Voting makes a difference. The Earth is a big ball of dirt floating in space. I say, what for heaven's sake will be next? No Bigfoot? No reptilians? No Atlantis or Bermuda Triangle? At some point, the New World Order will be teaching our children imaginary numbers. I had to explain to Jake that this was going to be a tactical operation, with clear and achievable objectives, directed by audacious leadership, and executed by a well-outfitted and trained landing force. As always, we were going to do the thing right the first time, while limiting our overall casualties. I explained it all, but still Jake didn't comprehend the strategic vector of the operation. "But why parachute in?" asked Jake. "The property borders on the Ogden Reservoir, and there's a state park just across Triple Creek." "I've been squirrel hunting up on Triple Creek," interjected Tripper, as if what he had to say was important. "They got limestone caves and a waterfall at the park. What is the name of that park?" "Who cares?" I boomed above Jake and Tripper's small talk. "We have a mission to organize." "Yes, sir," Tripper bemired. "Just wanted to say that the game warden caught me hunting on the state park once, and he took my 410 shotgun away. He gave it back later after we became friends." "Who cares?" I boomed again, while throwing my hands in the air. "If we are to reach the Underdome, the edge of the Earth and the ice wall, then we need cooperation, not endless jabber by untrained recruits." I was a little hard on Tripper, as it was Jake's fault for bringing the subject up. I put Ranger Dan in charge of gathering our weapons and tactical gear. "And get some rocket-propelled grenades, napalm, 2 flamethrowers, and 2 anti-tank systems," I said to Ranger Dan, "but stay within budget." "No mines or drones, then?" asked Ranger Dan. "Yes," I replied, "but only if the drones can spread nerve gas and the mines have nuclear triggers." "Wilco," acknowledged Ranger Dan. I then looked over at Larry, who was eating a pomegranate with Philadelphia cream cheese spread on top. "Larry," I said, "you are in charge of getting an aircraft to drop us on D-Day. I would prefer either a Dakota Marine transport or a B-17 bomber, but we could settle on a regular DC-3. "Sir," replied Larry, "shall I write any of this down? I don't have a pencil. Tripper, do you have a pencil?" "No, you amateur," I told Larry forcefully. "Don't write anything down as we don't yet have a code book, and our plans could become compromised." I next detailed Tripper's assignment. "Tripper, you shall procure parachutes for everyone, plus tactical grease paint, Rambo headbands, and blue wraparound mirrored sunglasses for everyone." "What color do you want for the heatbands?" asked Tripper. "Camouflaged," I sharply replied to Tripper. "Camouflaged. I shouldn't have to tell you everything." Next were the mission preparation assignments for Jake, who, while not up to now reliable, seemed to be at least conversant when it comes to ghosts and the supernatural. "Jake, you shall procure and test the equipment needed to catch and store ghosts and demons."
"What do I buy?" replied Jake. "I don't know anything about catching ghosts."
Frustrated, I explained the whole ghost-catching process, from locating to trapping to final capture. I explained that we needed a proton generator, an electron duplicator, a alternating current flux multiplier, and 6 penguin feathers tied together with the sinew of a Japanese white ice monkey. "That sounds easy enough," responded Jake. "Anything else?" "Well, of course," I replied. "We will need 12 pounds of Tyrannosaurus fossils ground to a fine powder and mixed with hot lava from Mount Kilimanjaro, but I figured you knew that." "Sure," replied Jake. "That's just standard stuff there." I then attempted to lead the men in airborne calisthenics, but I was still standing on trash bags inside the open dumpster, which ruined my normal perfect form jumping jacks. "All right, men," I said while trying to catch my breath. "You are directed to finish your airborne calisthenics on your own time. 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 toe touches, 100 pull-ups, and 20 minutes of low crawling with a full packs and with 50 caliber machine guns firing above your heads. Jake must have liked the calisthenics orders, as I saw him elbow Larry in the ribs and wink. "Okay, men," I said. "We will meet up here tomorrow morning at 05:30, and if you are not in perfect physical condition by then, I will know that you slacked off on your calisthenics. Missed." I closed the dumpster doors to give the men time to leave the area, as I didn't want spies in the area to report my position. 5 minutes later, my fears were realized, as a huge tank destroyer armed with 2 .44 caliber cannons backed up next to the dumpster. I assumed they would use the 44s to blast me out, so I placed an old mop bucket over my head and took cover behind a pile of old CRT television sets. I was set to meet the enemy, but then I heard a scraping sound under the dumpster and what sounded like the distant roar of artillery. Smoke began to fill the dumpster, and just as I assumed I was being attacked with tear gas, the dumpster began to move upward. The mop bucket then fell off my head as the whole dumpster began to rotate. Finally, the doors to the dumpster opened to daylight. I was upside down and trash and old television sets were tumbling down with me. We all then fell together into a large, smelly metal container, and the last thing I remember was a television falling on me from 10 feet above. I was unconscious and captured by a determined, crafty, and despicable enemy.